Definitions from the book Power of Logic. The counterexample method. Write out the most logically sensitive form of the argument. Use capital letters to stand for statements or terms. 2. Find English statements or terms that, if substituted for the capital letters in the conclusion of the argument, produce a well-known falsehood. 3. Substitute these English statements or terms for the relevant capital letters uniformly throughout the argument form. 4. Find English statements or terms that, if substituted uniformly for the remaining capital letters in the argument form, produce premises that are well-known truths. 5. Check your work. If you have succeeded, you have shown the argument to be invalid. The fallacy of denying the antecedent is an invalid argument form. If A, then B, not A, so not B. An invalid argument form is one that has some invalid substitution instances. A counterexample to an argument form is a substitution instance in which the premises are true and the conclusion is false. A good counterexample to an argument form is a substitution instance in which the premises are well-known truths and the conclusion is a well-known falsehood. The fallacy of affirming the consequent is an invalid argument form. If A, then B, B, so A. A categorical statement is a statement that relates to two classes or categories where a class is a set or collection of things. A term is a word or phrase that stands for a class of things. A strong argument is one in which it is probable, but not necessary, that if the premises are true, then the conclusion is true. A weak argument is one in which it is not probable that if the premises are true, then the conclusion is true. A cogent argument is a strong argument in which all the premises are true. An uncogent argument is one that is either weak or strong with at least one false premise. Deductive logic is the part of logic that is concerned with the study of methods of evaluating arguments for validity and invalidity. Inductive logic is the part of logic that is concerned with the study of methods of evaluating arguments for strength and weakness. A report is a set of statements intended to provide information about a situation, topic, or event. An illustration is a statement together with an explanatory or clarifying example. An explanatory statement provides a reason for the occurrence of some phenomenon. A conditional statement is an if-then statement. Summary of principles for constructing well-crafted arguments. Identify the premises and the conclusion. Eliminate excess verbiage, for example, discounts, repetition, assurances, and hedges. 3. Employ uniform language. 4. Be fair and charitable in interpreting an argument. 5. Don't confuse conclusions with final conclusions. 6. Make explicit, obvious, implicit premises in a charitable way. The standard form of a conditional statement is if A, then B. Excess verbiage is a word of statement that adds nothing to the argument. A discount is an acknowledgement of a fact or possibility that might be thought to render the argument invalid, weak, unsound, or uncogent. Rhetorical elements are elements in an argument that increase its psychological persuasiveness without affecting its validity, strength, soundness, or cogency. Repetition is a statement of a premise or conclusion, perhaps with slightly altered wording. An assurance is a statement, word, or phrase that indicates that the author is confident of a premise or inference. A hedge is a statement or word or phrase that indicates the arguer is tentative about a premise or inference. An enthymeme is an argument with an implicit premise or conclusion. A proposition is a truth or falsehood that may or may not be expressed in a sentence. A cognitive meaning of a sentence is the information conveyed by the sentence. The emotive force of a sentence is the emotion the sentence expresses or tends to elicit. An extensional definition specifies the meaning of a term by indicating the set of things to which the term applies. For example, an ostensive definition specifies the meaning of a term by pointing to objects in its extension. An enumerative definition specifies the meaning of a term by naming the members of its extension individually. A definition by subclass specifies the meaning of a term by naming the members of its extension in groups. An intentional definition specifies the meaning of a term by indicating the properties a thing must have to be included in the term's extension. For example, a lexical definition reports the conventional or established intension of a term. A stipulative definition specifies the intention of a term independently of convention or established use. A precising definition reduces the vagueness of a term by imposing limits on the conventional meaning. A theoretical definition attempts to provide an adequate understanding of the things to which the term applies. Summary of criteria for evaluating definitions by genus and difference. Criterion number 1, a definition should not be too wide. Criterion number 2, a definition should not be too narrow. Criterion number 3, a definition should not be obscure, ambiguous, or figurative. Criterion number 4, a definition should not be circular. Criterion number 5, a definition should not be negative if it can be affirmative. Criterion number 6, a definition should not pick out its extension via attributes that are unsuitable relative to the context or purpose. An ambiguous word has more than one meaning. A vague word has borderline cases. The extension of a term consists of the set of things to which the term applies. The intension of a term consists of the properties a thing must have to be included in the term extension. The definendum is the word being defined. The definiens is the word or words that do the defining. Class X is a subclass of class Y, given that every member of X is a member of Y. Class X is a proper subclass of class Y, given that X is a subclass of Y, but Y has members X lacks. A genus is a class of objects. A species is a proper subclass of genus. The difference or specific difference is the attribute that distinguishes the members of a given species from the members of other species in the same genus. A counterexample to a definition is something to which the term applies but which doesn't meet the conditions, or which meets the conditions but the term does not apply to it. A definition is circular if the definendum or some grammatical form thereof appears in the definiens. Equivocation occurs when a word or phrase is used with more than one meaning in an argument, but the validity of the argument depends on the words being used with the same meaning throughout. A merely verbal dispute occurs when disputants appear to disagree, but an ambiguous word or phrase hides the fact that the disagreement is unreal. A persuasive definition is a definition that is slanted or biased in favor of a particular conclusion or point of view.